Hey everybody, this is Jason.
I'm Joy.
And this is the Fly Paper Podcast, a podcast for conversations that stick.
What are you stuck on?
Well, today, I'm stuck on the blame game.
What is the blame game, Jason?
The blame game is today's theme, today's title, because today we're going to talk about 3 different scenarios where we're going to try to figure out who's at blame.
Who's to blame?
Okay, who's at blame? 3 scenarios, who's at blame. Let's just go ahead and just jump right into number 1.
Okay.
So number 1 came from a real life situation.
Real life.
I got a friend of mine who's a Facebook friend who watches the show called Power. You've heard the show called Power,
I have
right?
heard
You've heard
the
the show
show
called Power. Okay.
Power, yes.
He watches Power, and apparently, I guess he has the app, so he gets to see the show at midnight.
Okay, he got Hulu or something?
He's got something like
Power
that.
Star?
Yep,
Okay.
something like that. Sees it at midnight. So he watches it right after it's live at midnight. And I guess a big character got killed or something happened or whatever.
Proctor.
Okay, yeah, I don't know for people who ain't seen it, but right. So a major character got killed, and then after he watched it, maybe about 30 minutes later, somebody posted a meme, like one of those little fake funeral announcements. So he shares it, right? Then goes to bed. Wakes up, about 8 people have cussed him out on that feed.
Everybody's mad.
And they've unfriended him as well. And so he's laughing about that.
No, that's just petty.
So right. So here's the question. Talking about the blame game. Who is at blame for you finding out about the show before you want to have it? Is it him for sharing the spoiler, the meme that he didn't create or whatever? Or is it the person for going on social media when they know they hadn't seen the episode yet and you know people have access to the show?
Well, there's so much to unpack here.
Okay.
First of all, I like definitions. I like words. So to blame means this is Webster, okay?
Webster.
To find fault with, to hold responsible, or to place responsibility for. Right?
Okay.
So who do we
Hold responsible.
or
Right.
place responsibility to, or to who do we find fault with? Social media or the person who posted it? Well, I gotta kind of redeem my brother just a little bit, even though I do not watch Power,
Okay.
right? But he didn't create that meme. Somebody
Right.
created it. So even if people were to put the blame on him, he was not the creator of the content.
Right.
So therefore, the content would exist without him sharing it. So is he really to blame?
But, okay, some people are going to say because he shared it, everybody in his network have the ability to now see the meme because he could have seen it and not sharing it. Like, I know when we watch shows that I know we would have seen early, I would wait until at least the next day or the next morning
Because
to
of all
share
the
certain
spoilers.
memes because of that. Or let me say this. Like, for example, like when Game of Thrones was on, right? So if we got to see it early for some reason, I would wait till at least after it's gone live that night, the live airing for the regular folks, if you
talk
will,
about it.
before I share a meme. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so a bunch of people were mad at him saying he's at fault. I take the position that if you have not watched the show, you need to stay off social media.
I also get that too. I'm a bit of a responsible poster, I guess you would say, because I don't watch Power. I've never seen Empire, but I do watch Grey's Anatomy. I do watch Greenleaf.
Okay, I
right?
like Greenleaf.
So it's like if it's something juicy, I'm ready to talk about Greenleaf. Let's discuss it.
Right.
But see, the thing I don't think either one's to blame. I think it's not. The responsibility is not on the user of social media, nor either user really. I think the nature of social media is to blame. Why is it that the internet needs to be so fast with everything?
I see what you're saying, but I think they to blame. I hear what you're saying, but if you know, like, we have kids.
Real.
And usually, like, Aubrey's bedtime is 9 o'clock, right? So normally we don't see at the beginning, we a 9:05er. Like, we had to say prayers, do story time, all that stuff. So 9:05, we jumping in, so we always 5 minutes late.
Okay.
But because of that, starting like about 8:30, we just turn off the phones. Because I don't need to see any notifications. I don't need somebody texting me. I don't need to know anything that's going to spoil my experience. I wanted to unfold like everybody else.
Right.
And so to me, you talk about you a responsible poster. I take responsibility to say, okay, if I know I want to see this show and I don't want it to be spoiled, I'm not going to let any outside distraction hit me where I might miss it.
Yeah, you might be right.
So I'm just saying.
I mean, that makes a ton of sense. But that, the nature of social media and the internet is to get the information out quick, whether it's right or wrong.
True.
The internet does not have our best interest at heart.
I agree. So what say you people? Do you think he is the blame, or do you think they are the blame for being on social media?
Or is the internet to blame?
Or is the internet to blame? With the small minority in the corner. Who is the blame in this scenario? That's what we're talking about. Joy thinks it's the internet. I think it's the people. Maybe you think something else. What say you? Hit us back and let us know. You can send us a message.
You can.
On our Facebook page.
Yeah, on our Facebook page.
Look up the Fly Paper Podcast Facebook page. You can leave a comment there and tell us what are your thoughts about this. Or if you want to send an email, because people still do emails apparently.
People still do emails.
People do emails.
People do, but some people, they weren't taught how to send an email.
Oh, Lord, you're right. You're right.
So, I mean, if Instagram is quicker for you, feel free to follow us, like us, leave a comment, share us on your stories.
Please just share please just share there and let us know. Fly Paper Podcast on Instagram and on all your social media platforms. Let us know who is the blame. Again, we're talking about the blame game today. The blame game. And so now we're going with scenario number 2.
Scenario number 2. Who is responsible?
So scenario number 2 is this. If you are out minding your business.
Minding my business.
Doing your thing. And you happen to see a friend that you know, their spouse or significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, doing something a little shady. Doing something maybe cheating-ish, or something that doesn't look right.
You sound like a whole man setting this scenario up.
Is it on you to tell that friend, especially if you know that friend can't handle it?
Oh, see, now that's a lot of layers, but
it's the layers. Tell me.
I took a sip of my smoothie because I'm gonna let you know.
Go ahead and tell me.
Yes.
It's all you.
Yes.
Tell the friend? Okay.
Yes, it is not completely your responsibility to fix the relationship, but I do think if you're out and about in public and this is your main apple scrapple, your ace boon coon, the one who you're in a hilarious group chat with,
right?
That friend, not old girl that,
not the random.
Every time you see her picture, you like it on Facebook. Okay. Not that chick, but the one who's really, really your friend.
Okay.
If you see their significant other, especially if they're married or engaged, first of all, I would approach them then and there. You are going to know that I saw you. Ooh. You're going to know that I engaged you in conversation. And if I say, "What are you doing here? Hey, is this a salsa class?"
Are you gonna ask who she is?
Yes, I'm gonna introduce myself.
Like, hi, I'm friends with his wife. Who are you?
That's exactly what I would do.
Okay.
I have a couple of best friends now who are probably going to be listening to this podcast. Shout out to y'all. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Besties.
If I see of their boyfriends, fiancés, or husbands doing dirt in the streets, I'm going to confront that person, especially. So I think of it like this. And I mean, there's different, levels to relationships and whatnot. Sure, but I'm like a professional bridesmaid, right? Like I've done this a few times. The point of a bridal party, okay, because this is where a lot of people get messed up, right? The point of a bridal party is you are picking those guys, those ladies who are going to stand behind you and with you and witness you. Oh, thanks. And witness you, making those vows before God and village, right? It's an accountability. Mm-hmm. And so not only do they have your back, they have your spouse's back. Mm-hmm. So if I see you doing some foul stuff in the streets, it is my duty as your bridesmaid, as your best friend, to check you on it. Now I don't have to be all rambunctious like old girl in that movie, Flossie Posse. You remember when Tiffany Haddish broke the wine glasses?
Right.
What you doing? I don't have to do all of that.
Okay.
But you know,
girlfriends, right?
Girls Trip.
Girls Trip. Girls Trip.
But I can't. A throwback movie. 2 can play that game when Vivica walked up to him on the dance floor. Hey, how you doing? That's a nice suit, girl.
Oh, right.
Hey, bye.
Right.
I can do that, and we have smartphones. I can take video and pictures and have evidence.
Right.
Because here's the thing.
Hashtag Nicole Murphy. Sorry.
Exactly. I have my friends' interests at heart, and if I'm sitting with that, like, that's crazy.
So I will say I know of times in the past where that has gone the wrong way though, where I know of people where they told that person and it backfired, and the person chose to basically shade the person bringing the news to them,
shooting the messenger.
Yes, and then end up still booed up with the person who was doing the dirt.
I think that can either be a sign of just major embarrassment. So that is something that they throw up to deflect all of that energy, and because they're embarrassed, they feel like they can either pick up the pieces and go fix it, or they're just embarrassed because they already knew that they were doing dirt and now everybody else knows. So I mean,
right.
Cause
you got that look in your eye like I wish my boyfriend would come. I wish some dude dating me would do like that's the look you have in your eye.
I think as a person who's been cheated on.
Okay. Word.
I just think it's a dumb concept.
Right.
I think it's a really stupid concept, and men always get caught. It's not that women don't do it. Right. We're just better at concealing things. Okay. Yeah. Men always do like the most public thing. Always.
that's funny.
You know, and I'm just like, well, what is the point of you being in an exclusive relationship with somebody if you're going to do
right? It'd be Shelly from accounting. That's down the hall, right? I try to think of a name that Shelly. I'm sorry if there's a Shelly listening. She gonna be like, why you had to call Shelly's name out, right? Why you had to call my name out? Mm-hmm. I don't even work in accounting no more. I work in finance. You know.
But I don't know. I just think it's better all around for you to tell, because I think at most your friend is just trying to make sure look out for you.
And I would say, and I feel the same way, to be honest. I even though I've seen it backfire, to me, I always want to do what I would rather want somebody to do to me. So I'm like, for me, I would tell because I want to know. Right. Like, I don't care how bad it is, I want to know. I don't care if it's like, you done called them in the act and recorded the video. Like, I want to know. Like, let me just find out and know. But because I've seen it, I understand how some people have decided to hesitate. Because some people are in a place where they fragile and can't take it. And you like, do you say something? But then what I found in those situations, it always comes out.
It does.
And then later you feel like the bigger jerk because you didn't say something.
And you knew.
And sometimes that ends the relationship. It's like, so wait a minute, you knew for 3 months and you never said anything? Because some people are like, I'm just going to let it play out. Let it just play out because it's not going to end well anyway. But like you said, if you're a true friend, if that's your ace, if that's your tight, close relationship, you have to say something.
Yeah, like it's just, be a person of integrity.
Right.
Friends share integrity. Friends don't let friends have cheating boyfriends and girlfriends.
Right, unless they the one cheating with them. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I went too far. But the moral of the story is, in this situation, if you don't say something, you are at blame because you are just as bad, almost, as that person who's caught up doing the dirt. Because if you see it, you gotta say it. What they say, see something, say something. That's probably talking about something different, but I feel like it applies here.
Talking about something completely different. completely
different.
But I mean, I just feel like, come on, come on.
You know.
You do.
Yeah.
Man, no. I just want to put this out as a PSA.
PSA.
If I catch one of y'all in the streets.
Yeah, and we talking to you, all our fly paper people. If we see you in the streets doing dirt,
just
we gonna
don't
drop.
cheat.
We gonna drop it down.
Just please don't cheat. It's not nice.
Yeah, this is an old school reference, like in Men's Society dude with that banana. I'm about to drop a dime on them like that. I'm gonna drop a dime. So yeah. I might have went too far back then. I lost half of my crowd.
Nobody did. We've seen Menace to Society. That is on the list. That's on the list of like Black Hood movies.
We gotta talk.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, we're gonna. That's gonna be a conversation for a later show. We have to talk about the must watch black movies to
Or
understand
Black
the
Card
culture.
Revoked.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, we gotta. Okay, we talk about that. Okay, we're back on the Fly Paper Podcast, talking about this blame game situation. And so, for the third and final part of today's show, when we talk about the blame game, I want to start it really with a question. And the question is this: why do we blame ourselves for past mistakes, past failures, and just mess ups? Why do we put ourselves in a position where we really hadn't moved on, although we've kind of continued to live and exist maybe? We hadn't moved on and we're still holding on to those past failures and past mistakes. Maybe it's a past relationship. The person done been gone, they done married somebody else or whatever, but we still stuck in that position. What do we need to do to really stop blaming ourselves for those things and moving on? Because I'll say for me, that's one of the things that from conversations, I meet so many people who in some ways emotionally, in some ways physically, are still stuck at a place where maybe the trauma happened. And they're really, it's something of when somebody does something to you, but I think we take a different layer of ownership when we're the one who we know are the cause for what took place and what went down that negatively impacted our lives. So what do you think? Or what do you think, how do we stop blaming ourselves?
Man, I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think I was just thinking about a young person that I used to work with, or just to keep it ambiguous, a young person that still has like effects today of trauma that happened to them at an early age, and we're talking about things like sexual molestation and that sort of thing. Sure. So I think the reason why a lot of us hold on or take responsibility for not the things that we should take responsibility for and grow from, but the things that we shouldn't, because a lot of us aren't given the tools of how to cope with trauma that happens from a young age. Right. And when you're, still becoming a person and you don't fully understand the why of why things happen, I think it's a natural inclination to say, well, it must be my fault. And so when you learn to adopt everything as your fault, then, the mistakes you made doesn't get to be the nice mistake that you made that becomes a life lesson. Every mistake that you make is like a weight of guilt and shame and taking responsibility for stuff that you don't need to. So
I think something you said there is key. You said shame. And I think that's a huge part of it. I can honestly say, even for myself, I'm one of those people who feel like, I don't have regrets because I learned from the lessons, it ended up how it ended up. But the things that when I look back and wish I would have played differently are all things where I made the mistake. Where I made the poor decision, where I went left when I really should have went right. And even though things, let's say, quote unquote, worked out eventually, I dealt with the consequences of the action. I think it is so hard sometimes to do that, because I think what we do is we're so focused on the result of what happened based on that decision that we can fail to see the promise that is to come, or how, let's just say, the road turned to a place of redemption or grace or whatever you want to use. You know what I'm saying? Whatever word you want to use. And I think that's how so many people are. Even though they moved on and things are going well now, they can't enjoy it because it's almost tarnished, because they're still wearing these lenses from their past. They're still looking back at that area saying, I am not... I could be so much further ahead if I wouldn't have made the decision. If I would have saved more money, I could have been here.
I wish I could go back.
Right. And it's funny because other people look at them and where they are and say, dude, you're on your way, or sis, you are on your way. But we internally don't see that. And so therefore we find ourselves often in this place of not really moving past it, and I think it'll keep us from really getting to where we need to go.
I used to think about that a lot. I used to say, ooh, if I could just go back. to junior year of high school. And if I knew what I knew now, I would get all the scholarships and you know, like run everything.
Right.
But I think it's just we want life to be easier. I don't think I can say that any other way. We want life to be easier.
Right.
And so since we want life to be easier, we really would rather not have all the bumps and bruises and stuff that come from making those stupid mistakes, like being guy crazy freshman year in college. Right.
They was cute though.
No, they weren't. Not really. Not looking back. Not looking back. Not looking back.
Right.
But I mean, but this has serious effects on people.
That's
like,
true.
because I know a lot of women, a lot of young women especially, they're so quick to say sorry for no reason, and they take on so much responsibility that isn't theirs. And you know, people feel like they have to wear the weight on the world on their shoulders, and I feel that.
Yeah.
I so feel that.
Yeah, I think the other part too is I think you can get to a place where you struggle to get past it because all you can see is the mistake, and you see yourself as a failure maybe, or you see yourself as, I'll never get over this hump. And so I started with the relationship angle on it, because for me, that's one of the ones I see so often, whereas someone has moved on, but they almost look back and say, man, I wish I could have been with that person, or if I could have made the right decision, or if I could have made this work. But the reality is, I think it didn't. And what we have to do is, instead of maybe saying, oh, if I'd known this then, if I'd known that whenever, realize you know it now, so what are you going to do moving ahead? Yeah. You know, it's almost like, well, what's your way forward instead of looking backwards, you know? And I think that's the thing. It's like you can't really be, I always think of this image of in the car, you know, you got the rearview mirror. And it's the idea that often we have to be at a place where when you look at, you're driving, right? And you got the rearview mirror up there. I'm going to pause it again. So I often think about the idea of the rearview mirror in your car. Okay. And I think when you think about it, your windshield is so big, but that rearview mirror is so small.
It's so little, yeah.
And I think it's because we should be focusing on what's ahead and not necessarily spend all of our time focused on what's behind us, you know? Yeah. And so I think life is the same way. We have to focus on what's ahead. We have to focus on moving past it. And if you're sitting here listening to this podcast right now and you're like, you know, Jason and Joy, y'all don't know the mistakes I made. You don't know how I made this one decision and it totally was disastrous. It led me in this way that it took me on a different trajectory for my life. The thing that we have to recognize is that there's a way forward from this.
There is.
There's a way to move beyond it, but it starts with you. Okay, it happened. Like let's go ahead and deal with it. It happened.
It happened.
It happened. You know, that person left, or you did this and you really hurt somebody, whatever, and to some degree, that's done. You know, it's done. You can't change that now. And so with where we are, what are you going to do moving forward? I think that's the thing. And it has to start with you stop blaming yourself for what was. If you've forgiven, if you've asked for forgiveness, whatever it is, now it's time to move forward and live your life and not be stuck on that. And you might say, well, I got people who always remind me of what it is. Forget them. Because there's some people who you know, always want to remind us of what we did, who we were. And I remember you back then when you were just that, whatever. But that's not who you are now. And you don't have to be that same person if you don't want to be. There's room for all of us, I think, to change and become better.
There is. And I think you just have to be content with the fact that not everyone is going to be involved in that process with you.
That's good.
And you have to be okay and content with everyone's not going to know the whole story. Right. And everyone is not going to understand how you feel or be sensitive to how you feel. And they might be in that same process, and it makes them feel better to remind you of your transgression.
I think if I can jump in on top of that, I think the other part is you recognize that you don't necessarily have to answer to them.
You don't.
Like sometimes it's like we feel like we kind of keep having to nurse and rehearse the pain and have to keep reliving this thing over and over again when it's like, you know what, there's there's more. There's
more beyond.
Yeah, there's more beyond this, and so we can't allow ourselves to stay stuck there. Because I think what's the term they use? Fail forward.
Yeah, fail forward.
You have to learn to just, if you fail, if you make the mistake, okay, life's not over there. If you're still breathing, then let's make other decisions and keep going down the road. Because I think all of us have made mistakes and will make mistakes.
Yeah.
And will make poor decisions or whatever. And we learn from them and we keep moving. But this is just from us to y'all that you're listening. Like, man, do not let those things from your past rob you of your future. If you're in a relationship, don't let the person that you're going to date now be paying for the things that someone from your past did.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be able to move past that. You have to be able to move forward and stop blaming ourselves.
Stop blaming yourselves. And I think one of the I'm gonna call them out. One of the things that the enemy does.
Well,
okay,
go for it.
I think one of the tools of the enemy,
yes,
if I may say so,
yes,
is to keep you isolated.
That's it.
And holding on to everything negative about yourself without employing good tools to say, "Hey, I did it. How do I fail forward? How do I push forward?"
That's good.
Guilt and shame clogs your vision. It isolates you. It keeps you secluded. It keeps you closed off to people.
Right. And
the enemy wants you by yourself, because that's when you're only alone with your thoughts and your negative thoughts about yourself, and you're sitting in a corner. And that, that's a lot of what depression is. It's
right.
you are by yourself in your head. Because of everything that's going on. And so I would say just keep your vision clear.
Yeah, I like that. It's got to be clear, and you got to be focused on what's to come. And if nobody's told you that you can make it beyond that or past that, we're here to tell you that now, that there's life on the other side of that. And so it's time to stop blaming ourselves and move forward.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Flypaper Podcast. This is Joy.
And this is Jason.
Make sure you follow us all on all social media. We're talking Facebook and Instagram. We don't have a Twitter. We're not that old.
We're not.
So make sure you like and follow and subscribe. Leave us comments if you like, and keep listening.
Yeah, and if you like it, keep listening. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself. Also, check us out on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, Flypaper Podcast. You can search that and find us on YouTube. We will be listing there every week a thought-provoking question that you must hear. It's going to be great. It's going to be life-changing. And we take this step week by week. So you can check us out there. And last but not least, thanks for your time. Tell everybody you know.
Tell everybody. Be free, friends.
Peace.